Hey, Jim Toscano here, and I just wanted to do a quick, short little live before the replay of Billy Cobham, which is at 7 p.m. It's an hour from now. Um, so this little quick intro live stream, I was going to do much closer to the 7 o'clock hour. However, I was afraid it was going to make the video not play because the service that I use was like, be careful that your intro stream ends way before your replay. So anyway, so I said, you know what, let me just go live an hour earlier. I just wanted to kind of go over the schedule, what's coming up. And my dog Cooper is down here with me. Maybe he'll stand up and make himself known. But yeah, so Billy Cobham's at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time today. So that's about an hour from now, a little less than an hour from now. And that's with, of course, my mentor, teacher, friend, Dom Famularo, and myself interviewing Billy about Billy's upcoming master classes. And I started to get a little bit into Billy's history, and we kind of ran out of time. So we're actually going to do a part 2 in November, and I'm going to do my full line of speed round questions and all that good stuff. So there will be another Billy Cobham live stream in November, but tonight you get to watch the one that was from last week during the day, which a lot of people missed because we streamed at 11 a.m. and I never stream at 11 a.m., at least not for interviews. So I know that a lot of folks said that they had missed it. So anyway, so I'm replaying it tonight at 7 o'clock. In the meantime, I'm just going to shoot down the schedule with you. So upcoming live streams, there's a couple that I just want to mention, which is next Monday night, October 25th, from Zappa fame, drummer and educator Ralph Humphrey, who's a sweetheart of a guy, an amazingly talented drummer and educator, is going to be here with me, which is going to be awesome, and I'm really excited about that. And then the following Monday, November 1st, my good friend Stephen Chamberlain, who we've done clinics together. He's a great jazz fusion drummer residing in Canada. We don't hold that against him. He will be here. Just kidding. He will be here with me on November 1st. And then sort of banked on my thing, we're still working out a lot of dates for folks. We have Klaus Hessler to come soon, Rodney Howard from Avril Lavigne's band, Alan Schwartzberg, studio fame, Alan Schwartzberg, talking with Ralph Roll right now, talking with James Gadsden. So there's a lot of pending stuff coming up. And of course, we have to reschedule my good buddy Jeff Salem, who is on the mend, who unfortunately was in a hit and run. So our prayers and thoughts go out to Jeff Salem, of course, and that he'll be better real soon. And I'll get him in here. We'll do that hot sauce / drum combo live stream, and that's kind of it for the moment. I just wanted to kind of go through that, and then as far as tonight, of course, it's the Billy Cobham replay. So, and something to just keep in mind is go to stagesmusicarts.com if you're interested in Billy's masterclass. So go sign up for that. And stagesmusicarts.com / Billy Cobham. And so he's got the one coming up on the 24th. That's this Sunday. And then he's got one in November, I think November 28th. Another masterclass with Dom Famularo, Will Calhoun, Gary Husband. It's just a great lineup. Definitely make sure you're a part of that. And yeah, so I just want to touch base with y'all. And there is no Thursday night live stream this week because it's my wedding anniversary, so I'll be missing that. And next week, and I kind of feel bad about this but it's my birthday, and so my family wants me off. So next week on Thursday is my birthday. So I'm missing 2 Thursdays in a row for life events. This is what life's all about, right? So in the meantime, make sure you tune in at 7 p.m. Watch the Billy one again. Oh, by the way, I will be monitoring the chat. So if we have anything we want to talk about during the chat, I shall be there. So there it is. And thanks for tuning in. And I will see you guys real soon. I'll see you at 7 p.m. All right. Be well, everybody. Thanks. Bye now. Hey, Jim Toscano here, and welcome to the Monday night live stream on Wednesday morning. What? So usually I'm doing these interviews on Monday nights, but my guest today is in a faraway land, and the time difference would not allow for that. So, and you know what? Any time that he gave me to do it, I don't care if it was 2 a.m, we were doing it. So I'll bring up my guest in just a moment, which I'm sure anybody that's watching this that follows this show knows who's on today. And it's two guests. I have a guest slash co-host and then a very special guest. Before I jump into it real quick, ProLogic's practice pads, always appreciated their support, and I love their products. Offset pedals, Sabian cymbals, of course, the best cymbal company on the planet, in my opinion, and very big supporters of drum education, and Black Magic Designs for all my fun electronic wizardry in this room. So I'm going to give just words, keywords, as to how I feel about this guest today. So yes, drummer, of course, because I only interview drummers pretty much. Sometimes bass players, but we don't like them very much. Drummer, band leader, game changer, trailblazer, inspired, creative, innovator, educator, passionate. This guy has changed drumming for everyone over my entire lifetime, changed what I thought of drumming, because before I heard this gentleman, I was kind of, I only knew boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba. And then I heard this guy play and I was like, holy moly, there's a whole nother world out there. So he changed the way people set up drums. He changed the way people approach drums, the way people think about it. And some of my heroes, besides this hero today, have been inspired by him. Namely, one of my heroes, Simon Phillips, always points to this gentleman. And of course, my co-host, Dom Famularo, the global ambassador of drumming and George Clooney lookalike, is here today. And the amazing, the incomparable Billy Cobham is with us today. Let me bring these guys in. We did it. We're all here together. I'm just going to play a little bit of this record. Oh, yeah. I'm probably getting shut down right now for copyright infringement. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. This is Roller from Drum and Voice Volume 3, which has a buddy of mine, Bob Mincer, on there on tenor, and George Duke. Holy moly. This record's got Chaka Khan on it, Gino Vanelli, Alex Acuna, John Schofield. Holy moly, you name it. Novesanto. All right. We did it. We're here, guys. Billy Cobham, my special guest.
Nice to be here. Finally.
Yeah, it's kind of been a long time coming. We've been planning this for some time. I appreciate your generosity with your time this morning, and my teacher and mentor, Dom Famularo, and I consider him, part of the family.
Sure.
Is with us today, and Dom and I, and we go way back. And I know the first time I met you was at PASIC, and I just want to mention that, we have access to such incredible talent at PASIC. So make sure you guys attend that this year. It's back in person, and I was able to meet you in the lobby and show you my book, which there's a page dedicated to you in my book, and take a picture with you. So it's like we have access to such incredible musicians that inspire us. So I appreciate that. Now I will have you speak. Thank you.
God, finally.
He won't shut up.
I never said that. I thought it, but I never said it. Okay, so I was in Brooklyn. I was brought up in Brooklyn. I understand everything. No problem. Yeah, Flatbush. Okay, Flatbush. Okay.
I'm from Flatbush.
Rogers were there when I was there. Well, yeah, Ebbets Field was there,
Yeah, man.
We used to walk to Ebbets Field. It was a great baseball stadium. Small, but okay. Seats were small. Oh, no, we're supposed to talk about drums. I'm sorry. That was a good baseball team, though, I'll tell you. Anyway, how do I start?
Well, I would like to know, what are you doing right now?
Right now.
Right now.
Well, all this morning, I've been preparing for all that's coming in the next week or so. I mean, initially, it's the Billy Cobham's Guide to Stress-Free Drumming with me and Dom, and but that just we're just taking root right now with this thing, and it's growing, and and I'm so excited and happy about how things have turned out. After a very, very rocky start, where we lost a couple of months because of the pandemic situation and all, and having to restructure how the business side is going to work because nobody had any money, and so they
Right.
couldn't pay for the stupid thing. And it was so stupid, it was really smart to do it. The thing for me, once we got by that, and we were yakking about one thing or another that really ails all musicians, not just drummers. In many ways, I, as a student of the art, was able to be exposed to the valued opinions of individuals like Dom and Will Calhoun and Gary Husband and Dennis Chambers, and then all of the people who participated in it so far in our presentations, just where a drummer's life is at in different ways. And for me, it opened up other doors. Stupid little things that nobody thinks about, like how you hold a drumstick, and not just how you hold a drumstick. Uh, the comparison between, let's say, molar, match grip, conventional, playing from with these sticks, the size of the shaft of the stick, the length of the stick, the kind of wood that is used to make up a drumstick, the bead of the drumstick. What difference does it make? How's that all? How do you apply that knowledge to help determine who you are as the creator of the music that these tools help you make? And it got me thinking about how to expand on the whole foundation of drumming. What do we do with this stuff? Where do we go?
And and of
And,
course,
and
stress-free drumming, right? Stress-free
well,
drumming.
yeah.
You know, stress and tension, as Dom always says, are the enemy of movement. So all these things that you're talking about, the actual tools that we use and all of the different grips that we use, that's all to reduce any level of stress and friction in our movements, right?
Yes.
And so that concept of stress-free drumming, could be interpreted a lot of different ways, but I think that is a key proponent, right?
Well, and
very, very important.
And then
go ahead, Dom.
Think of this. Think of what Billy has put together here, and as we mastermind these master classes, which kind of came out of the idea of the rhythm section drumming camp that Billy and I did in Arizona for several years, is he put together Gary Husband, who's a phenomenal drummer and a brilliant keyboard player, Will Calhoun, Dennis Chambers, and when you start to have Billy and all of them talk about this natural way of playing, to play with nature and not against it. When you start discussing that, each of the participants are starting to pull information that they can relate to that's helping them to understand how they can achieve this level of stress-free drumming. And that's really what the power is of this masterclass. It's really, really a lot of fun.
Let me put up the graphic I'm just putting up the graphic real quick of the promo, and I just put it right over your face, Dom. And it's the topics include developing one's inner sense of time, four-way coordination, developing your weak side to equal your strong side, which is a constant battle for every drummer. Even Jim Chapin mentioned, in his dying bed, that he was working on his left hand. It was getting better. Working on odd time signatures, solidifying the foundation of the rhythm section. And as Dom said, Gary Husband, Will Calhoun, Dennis Chambers, and I saw you play with Gary Husband at the Blue Note. I believe, I get so confused with the amount of time, but a few years back. And man, just what a great band. And Gary Husband is such a talented musician. So he's bringing not just the drummer's perspective, but being a great keyboard player. And I know his work from Alan Holdsworth, and seeing him as both wearing those two hats of writer, keyboard player, and drummer. That's bringing forth something for students that's on another level for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, man. And that's why our upcoming the next two presentations will have Gary smack in the middle of it all.
Right.
And he'll be dealing with the keyboard side of things as he has done in the past, in a way that is very much ingratiating to the drummer side of things. So it all ties in, and now we get into the why as a drummer do you want to create or write for other musicians in the band. And it's not just under the umbrella of why not. It's what that does is that opens the door. As for me, I'm just I wasn't thinking about writing a lot of music when I was with the before the MO. My big thing was, I'll dabble a little bit, try to keep a gig, but lead a band, man, I have enough trouble just trying to make a different recording session or performance sessions in a day. So I'm happy if I do Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey one day and rehearsals, and then you end up in the New York Philharmonic that night, just subbing for one of my teachers. The following morning, going to do a jingle for Kellogg's Cornflakes. That's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I get fired. I get a pink slip, and I go, okay, now what do I do? Well, I need to write some music to show everybody what I can do. So that's my easiest way. So I'll learn to, write music like I would learn the typewriter with two fingers. And I'd go like this, and da, 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 da. And eventually, da, 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 da. And that started to come, oh yeah, that made me work. Mistake after mistake after mistake. A lot of erasers that just disappeared because I kept losing where I was. Eventually started to come, and it is everything else. You were born the first thing you did was try to get around on your chest, and then you started to crawl, and the next thing you know, you were trying to walk on your knees, and then next thing you're walking, then you start to run. Same thing with music, and if you're playing, all these little things connect. If you're a good player, if you're an astute, committed musician, you will always be in a very observant one.
Right.
I've seen some people whom I never thought would ever play the drums. Why? Because it didn't seem to take hold, and they didn't know what to do, which came first, the chicken or the egg. But they kept watching everybody around them, and also grooving, just everyday things. Just watching everybody who played, and they said, "Well, God, no, that doesn't work for me. Yeah, I like that. And, I don't know, maybe." And the next thing you know, they had something,
Right.
and it was a consistency in it, And I got to tell you, you start to think about it and how they played. When they played the right thing, the right patterns, how comfortable they seemed, because that seemed to fit with them. The music it's not for, you can't play everything, in my opinion. You can play some things that resemble some things that you normally wouldn't play, so you find a hybrid level somewhere in there. And yes, that pays the bills. And then you move on until you can find another way to make it work. But
And
go, Dom.
Yeah, go ahead, Dom.
Kind of interesting because with Billy, first of all, when he mentions MO, I want everyone to understand that's Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And do the
It's not a body cream.
Billy talks about that hunt and peck ability I still do on the computer that he did with composition. He took this to a whole nother level of composition where now you've got these incredible tunes that Billy has, which in every masterclass, there is a tune that is downloadable with the chart and the music without drums for the students to then step further inside the song so they can understand Billy's arrangement and composition of what he does, and then we talk about that. And some of the students record the song beforehand, and we are able to play it during the master class. So it's kind of interesting to hear that now these students are being evaluated by
Yeah.
Dennis and Gary and Will, and they're hearing all that. And the excitement is, and that's when Billy mentioned what comes first, the chicken or the egg. With Billy, I think the chicken was created pregnant. That's
As only Dom could put it.
Yeah, I just need to, I've been trying to lose weight,
You know, before you were talking about composing with two fingers,
Yeah.
and I was like, I remember taking piano lessons briefly, and the piano teacher's like, I was noodling like that, right? Piano teacher's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Two mallet technique," and then the piano teacher's like, "Now what are you doing?" I'm like, "Four mallet technique." Because like we approach the piano like a mallet player, or at least if you're untrained.
Yes, sir.
And I remember talking to Marco Djordjevic about this. I was like, man, I go, I'm trying to put together these chords, and I was asking him, it had something to do with jazz theory, but I was like, is that right? And he's like, what am I, the chord police? He goes, who's going to tell you it's wrong? He goes, just write what you feel. And I was like, man, that's right. Write what you feel, because eventually you find your way through that path, right?
It comes. There it is. That's the key. We're blessed. Nothing we do is wrong.
Right.
It may be not appropriate for the moment, but if you're really into it, you'll understand why it's not correct, right? Yeah, I messed up. Okay, let me just put this off to the side. Let me just move into something that I know I can do here. So it's many. Gosh, I go to a lot of master classes, of course. Where was I? Was it Texas A&M once doing a master class with the orchestra, the percussion section, which was like, what? You guys ever see the Texas A&M marching military band football? They've got maybe 1,000 people on the thing, and so at least 200 drummers are just there, and I'm saying, okay, so bring a couple of guys on. I said, I want you to play for me. You play trap set, and obviously, and you're knowledgeable. What are you in here in school for? Is this a minor? And they said, no. We're a postgraduate, blah blah. I said, really? Okay. Then you should be able to do this, right? There'd be a piece of cake. And they're looking at me like I'm, what? Sure. Wait, you think it either the look was like, well, you're mocking me, or you trying to make me look stupid, or something about me I know about myself that I don't want to share with anybody. And I'm going, come on, man, let's all play. So I said to him, before we play, what can you do that would tell me a story about who you are as a player? I said, I know you like jazz. I know you like rock. I know you like pop. Okay. How can you express yourself to give me that feeling when you play? And there's silence. I said, I'm going to play something for you, and I'll show you how I want to go. When I'm playing, I'm thinking this, and I start to play some Latin stuff. I start to play some pop things, and just grooves, and said, yeah, and then straight ahead. And but I try my best to tell a story. The whole idea is that I start one place and I just round it out in a few minutes what this is all about, and that's the end of the story. I said, that's what I want you to do. And they looked at me with mouths open. And I went, we're in trouble. Okay. Look, let's start another way. And those guys could not play anything past boom, back, boom, boom, back, boom, back, boom, boom, back. So I said, so that's who you are then.
Right.
I said, so all that other stuff that you read out of the book and all of this, yeah, you know it. And someone showed you how to do that. And you taught your body to do what you do. But if you want to sit down and really do who you are, that's who you are. So now that we know who you really are, let's build on that.
Right. Yeah, everybody's path is different, right? So somebody's voice was built upon, like if we talk about some older guys that maybe grew up in the 70s and all they listened to was disco and R&B, then their voice is deeply rooted in that, right? So 4 on the floor, and they're good at that, and they're good at that one thing. And you could work in the industry just knowing a few really good things if you're good at it. But then something like, like the series that you guys are doing, it's bringing forward some more ideas and some more enlightenment, and maybe you start to reinvent yourself and you start to build upon that foundation, right?
Is that the Drummers Workshop in New York City on what's it, 8th Avenue or 7th Avenue?
Oh yeah, you're talking about Drummers Collective?
Drummers Collective with John, I forgot John's last name. Castellano. He had me come up and give do a half a day or something, just working with different people. And a guy, speaking about somebody who played who he was, he was trying to understand how to unravel. He was a real puzzle. He played like a puzzle. He said he was from New Orleans, real swamp, the back there, and he heard the drums from the position of, because he was a cook, and he actually held the snare drum. His both hands were like this. So this was the hi-hat up here, and the snare drum he was playing this way, and he was also munching on something that was nothing. He was grinding his teeth as he was trying to play a second line. And I was like on the floor. I don't know what to do with you, man.
He was making gumbo.
Oh boy. And he sounded great. He sounded wonderful. But he said, I don't want to play like this. I said, then don't. Yeah. He said, well, but I don't know how not to.
It's hard to unlearn what you've built upon, right? It's like we get into a muscle memory formation that is hard to break. But if you're dedicated, it's worth breaking. Think about the gift. This is to quote John Riley, quoting, I think, Philly Joe Jones. He said, he goes, the gift is not that we're born great drummers. The gift is the dedication and the ability to persevere when it gets hard, that you keep at it. That's the real gift. And so, like, if you're in a place where you're not happy with where it's going, you can change that, but you just have to have the dedication, the patience with yourself, and the perseverance to push through that, and not be afraid to sound terrible in the process. Because when you start reinventing yourself and you start not playing your stuff and you're trying to move to a different place, sometimes you go through a period of, doesn't sound too good now. I always tell students, I'm always like, in the drum room, work on that stuff where, you don't sound so good. You're working on it. And then when you're on the bandstand, do what you feel natural doing. And then you go back to the drawing board and you work on it again, right? And I think the master class you guys are doing, you're providing tools like that for people to go to that next level.
Interesting, too, is that when Billy and I had done the Billy Cobham rhythm section class in Arizona, we did this in Mesa, Arizona, and it was a phenomenal class. Every year we did it for several years until the pandemic hit. And everybody would kind of meet in Arizona at this facility. And we witnessed in 1 week time, Billy, right? People going from really kind of like just a smaller perspective of their artistic ability, all of a sudden being exposed to Billy's band and all the different rhythm section, working with the bass player, guitar player, keyboard, and then having these, then coming back together. After like 6 days, these people went through transformative changes of what they were aware of and playing that they had never thought of, that they were now exposed to. And they left literally different people than when they arrived.
Right.
This is what it's all about. It's the best way to hand down the experiences that we've collected along the road of our careers to those who come after us. That's the only way. And that's, no one can lie about that.
Right.
It is what it is. And these days, it turns out that, if they really take great pride in saying, if you say something that's not the truth, long enough, everybody will believe it. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's about not what you say, it's about what you do.
Yeah.
What you do.
Yeah, I believe that too. By the way, I have your discography here speaking about, building your path. And this is pretty tremendous. As a leader, there's a lot of titles in here, a lot of which I have. And I will say that the album Warning was really big for me in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the first time I heard, because I knew you as Birds of Fire, all the early Mahavishnu stuff, and the innovativeness and some of the chaos of the early Mahavishnu stuff, the way that it just seemed, wow, there's so much going on. And then Warning was like this record that grooved so intensely, and it was sort of a simmer. It was like, let's make it simmer, and it just grooved so hard. And I love that record, and I always go back to that one. And I transcribed a few things in my book from that. And but then I'm looking at this at your discography, and your last title came out in 2020, Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah.
And right before that, Time Lapse Photos.
Yep.
2019. Like, you are super busy, just as busy as you were. Maybe not as busy, but super busy.
I'd say I'm busier now than I was when I was living in the United States, only because I have the opportunity to sit down in my little den and write and be creative, not just for making records, which now, interestingly enough, finding a place to sell the product is a problem.
Right.
It doesn't really exist on any consistent basis. But what's important is to continue. I found to continue to contribute to the scene, my thoughts and ideas based on my experiences on a daily basis, not just every so often. So as the music comes, I document it because we can now.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we pay the electricity bill here in the house. Let's do something with it that makes some sense. We'll record something. I'll sit down, keep the light on, and write some ideas and concepts based on whatever that has to do with what I do, which is playing or trying to share ideas through the educational environment. And just to pass it on and to share it down the road, because who knows, maybe I may have to do that. And so I'm always preparing myself. And so as it is right now, I've already recorded about 2 other portfolios of stuff that's looking to happen, because it's just an everyday thing that I do.
That's great. And think about this. Technology has made it possible for us to share with other musicians across the world. Over the pandemic, I recorded 3 albums remotely with 3 different artists all over the place. And now I'm starting to get the mastered stuff in, and I'm like, I can't believe we did this, collectively and apart at the same time. And the thing, like with this series that you're doing with Dom, this is all being done through technology. You guys are all being connected. You're not sitting in the same room. You're bringing an entire series of masterclasses on Zoom. Thank you, Zoom, for providing such a good platform. So it's pretty crazy. And then you guys have these play-alongs that are there and PDF transcriptions, and you're just putting it all in real time on the platform. It's insane that we can do this. So in a way, the pandemic, while it was, of course, terrible things about it, there was a silver lining and this blessing that we all got out of it, that we got to connect on this level all over the place. I mean, look at this right now. We're all in the drum family sangha sitting together, right? And I always say, like, drummers, we're a crazy extended family. We are the ones that come together like this, not the bassoon players and the guitar players that are all turning their backs. We come together like a family, and we're using the technology. I think drummers are using the technology even on a higher level than everybody else.
When they say, when you are delivered lemons, make lemonade. Well, with all these lemons, I've made lemon cookies, lemon cake, lemon meringue, and I also made limoncello. Man, we're making the most out of it, what we can.
That's it. Just don't make...
I got a yellow cello. I mean, and it's fine, you know, and the strings are from Dario, you know, so that's all
Nice.
cool, you know. So I mean, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, ching. Then I've got carrot cake, and that tastes really good with coffee, man. You know?
You're speaking my language. Hey, by the way, I just want to real quick because I'm going to check in the chat and we'll just see if there's any questions coming up. But the first one that you guys did, the 4 coordination one was on September 26th. That in the past. The next one coming up is October 24th, 12 to 3 p.m. This is interpreting musical passages in jazz, rock, Latin, and fusion, with the personnel that we mentioned. And Serengeti Plains will be the play along. And the foundational topics are interpretation, phrasing, ghost notes, tempo. And if you go to the website, stagesmusicarts.com/Billy dash Cobham, go to the website, stagesmusicarts.com, and click on Get Tickets, and you can get tickets to that event. I'm going to jump into the chat real quick because I think we got some people saying hello, and we got potentially some questions. And by the way, I just want to mention that I'm repeating this episode Monday, October 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time. I'm going to put up this episode that we're doing today as a rerun on Monday night on my regular show so that my regulars who couldn't make it today, and namely some kids that are in school, they'll be able to see this in the repeat. And if there's any real questions that we don't get to, I'll try to through email to get back to everybody. So John Gill is saying hello from Oneonta, New York. He says, good morning, Jim, Dom, and Billy. Love to see Billy play some funky grooves today. Well, he's sitting at his desk, but we can all imagine what those funky grooves would feel like at the moment.
Yeah.
Gary Groovy, Gary Weiss, great drummer, great New York drummer, is here talking drums with us. Vincent LaRussa, my student and friend, longtime friend, in the house today. Bob Sears hanging with us today up in New Hampshire. Bob Sears attended the Billy Cobham class that Dom was talking about earlier in Arizona. He was an attendee, and he says he actually has a question, which I'll get to in a moment. There's a few more. Let's see. Anthony Cusina saying hi. He said, hi, Billy. Would you please talk about how you got started playing left-hand lead and how you went about developing your confidence in that?
Well, do I have a time?
Yeah. I'll cut you off if it's too long.
Okay. All right. It's a very interesting thing that happened when I went to take a lesson. I was fooling around with the drums first and foremost, and I was around 7 years old, thereabouts. And my dad used to bring me on into some bars here because he played piano alone. Sometimes, you know, when my mom had enough of me, she'd just say, "Get him out of here." And so, with that said, because she had to take care of my brother who was still an infant at the time, and so that said, we'd go with my dad and sit down and play on it. If it was a drum set there, I'd play a little bit with him. And of course, my feet never touched the bass drum. So, I mean, I had no chance. So that didn't work. And I'd come back and I kept wondering why the ride cymbal was on the right-hand side and the hi-hat was on the left. At that age, I mean, I don't know why, but for some reason, it seemed to me that the snare drum was clearly the one drum that all the musicians that I ever watched, like Mr. Payne and all, I mean, my dad knew Basie's band people and Dizzy's and all these guys, and all the drummers played conventional. They played on the snare drum, even angled to the left, down onto the right, and they play over it like they were marching. And I always go, man, that's right. To myself, uncomfortable, didn't seem to make any sense. That's not the way I wanted to play. Back then, I was saying, there's got to be another way to do this. And I kept falling back into the idea that it would be great to, you know, to have a snare drum as my breakfast table, and I could eat everything, the cereal and everything, my Cheerios and all from there, or my Rice Krispies. Back then, that was the deal, you know. And the next thing you know, it started to take hold, and I started to say, well, do I have to hold the sticks this way? Can I maybe do this, you know? And the only person that seemed to agree with me was an infant brother of mine, Wayne, who was holding his his rashes, his shakers like this,
Rattles, yeah.
rattles, and I'm saying, so you think you should do this? Yeah. I said, okay, cool, we're gonna do this,
Right.
And he was the only one that was listening to me. So I think anyway. So I just started playing this match. Next thing I know, somebody, whether Dexter or somebody, told my father, you should take that boy over to Sticks or Specs Powell. Specs Powell, I think it was Specs, not Sticks Hooper. Now Sticks Hooper was long ago. Specs Powell. And so we go to Specs Powell, and Specs Powell says, show me how you play. So I started playing left hand like this because I did that as well. And he said, no, you don't play that way. You have to play this way. And I said, and I said the magic word, why? And my father said, because he said you're supposed to. And I said, oh, okay. So I did that, and I just still in my head going, no, that's not right, man. Not for me. I need to play this way. And that way, I can do everything. And the next thing you know, I was just leaning with my left hand, brought the hi-hat down a couple of years later, because I went to Music and Art and I was already doing this. And I just started to play that way. And it felt really good. Me and the late Leo Mitchell, was a great drummer that never made it past maybe college, passed away. But we had a great idea. Al Foster was there at school. A lot of us were just doing that. Columbi was there. Bobby Columbi was at school. And a lot of us was doing all the things that we told us not to do. We were trying to find out why we shouldn't do it. And I ended up staying with it.
It's funny. If you take a kid and put them at a drum set and tell them, if they don't have any preconceived notion of what position to be in, and you say, are you a righty or a lefty first? And then if they're right-handed, put them on a right-handed drum set. 9 out of 10 times, they don't cross over. They go to play open, and they hold the sticks matched because it's the natural position to be in. We learned this, right? So we learned that from over time. And, of course, the story of the tilt of the snare drum and the way things were set up came out of a marching perspective, right? So
Civil War, man.
But any kid that you put in front of a drum set, they immediately are this way. And most kids, if you watch the fulcrum, they don't even grip the front of the stick. That gets learned later or from tension but most kids will pick it up and their fingers are open in the front. And I'm like, wow, that's like, especially like if you put the sticks in a baby's hand, 3 to 5 years old, they're relaxed.
Check out that Dennis Chambers on his left hand, on his right hand, he still puts his index finger on the top of the shaft of the stick.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, get out of here. Really?
That changes the sound too.
Years. Yeah. I haven't done that in years. And that's how I started playing.
Oh, that's funny.
And interesting enough, what's profound and what Billy did as far as being so open-minded is that when somebody would ask Billy why, Billy's response always was, why not?
Yeah. That's right.
That's what sparks someone to start to think, gee, really, why not? Rule number one, when it comes to setting up your drum set, rule number one, there are no rules. And rule number two, follow rule one.
That's right. I love that.
What Billy did.
Yeah. The worst that can happen is you mess up, and then you learn you shouldn't do that again. Okay, then don't do it. That's all.
That's it. That was a good answer. So Bob Sears is just mentioning that Quadrant 4 blew him away the first time he heard it, of course. So we're getting some comments. If anybody has questions, please put them in the chat. Vincent LaRussa reiterating, yes, that entire album blew me away. Lindsay McDonald hanging out with us today saying hello. Pete from across the street, not sure who that is. Thank you for doing this. Billy has always been a pioneer and a huge influence. Steve C. hanging with us. Tony Casina, we did the left-hand lead. Let's see, Michael Rosilio is with us today. Carl F. Weber hanging with us today, loving the stories. Stephen Chamberlain with us today. He'll be on with me in November. And actually, Vincent has a question. He said, before Spectrum existed, had that groove ever been put to wax? I think Alex Van Halen must have been inspired. for Hot for Teacher.
It could have been, but Alex is younger than me, so obviously he didn't do
That's
it.
right.
uh, I don't know if it was put to wax or not. But it just comes from what I did.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's where I find it. I don't know if it was the first or not
yeah.
for sure. No, I wouldn't know.
But it also goes back to, listen, when Billy played on Bitches Brew, Miles Davis in the 1968-69. And at that time, there were all these great players that were brought together in the concept of performing and creatively express themselves, probably not even knowing what they were going to do. And Billy has taken that to a whole other level with musicians that he brings together, even the young musicians he's working with now, where he's bringing them together and utilizing their talent and their input and molding a different scenario with all the different groups of artists that Billy has at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at as a side man, if you look at Billy's career, it's such a diverse list of folks. Thank you. That's a subscriber. Stanley Turrentine, one of I think is a real innovator. Also, you know that record Stanley did, I think it was in the '90s, where he played all seashells.
No, I didn't know that.
He was blowing into seashells on this one particular record.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really
Beautiful.
interesting. Stanley Turrentine.
Can you please send me the name of that record? I'd love to investigate that. Please.
Yeah, for sure. Ray Barretto, George Benson, Bobby and the Midnights. I have a list of musicians also that I'm going to ask you to react to, but James Brown, which I wasn't aware of that. I learned that just this week.
Back. I'm going to kiss myself.
Man. Kenny Burrell, Cargo, Ron Carter, Stanley Clarke, of course, Larry Coryell, Miles Davis, and the list goes on and on. I mean, it's what's molded your playing has got to, with that kind of diversity and that long tenure with all these different artists, that has shaped your creativity, right? And then each person that you work with affects you in another way. You add that creativity to your bag. So it's really impressive to go through, and I implore everybody just to go back and listen to all these recordings, including the Mahavishnu stuff, where I first learned about you. And so talk about the writing process just real quick for the last album. So you're writing this stuff by yourself, or are you co-writing?
Yes. No. Co-writer? I don't think I never had a co-writer.
Yeah. So this is all you, man.
Yeah, it's somebody just told me that I did. It's the only person that has put out more albums than me is Art Blakey.
Really?
As a leader at drums, and I think he did hit 50. I know that I put out between 50. No, now I've surpassed that. But I mean, it's just taken a lot of time. Again, because what I'm writing is all about, it's like every step of the way in my career, in my life, what I do. And I'm sure that Art was a very good piano player, and not many people know about that, but he could play piano, he could compose, but he was also, him and Miles, great managers of bands. Right. I mean, how to run an organization, get from point A to point B, how to negotiate through a quandary of problems that happen every day on tour, off and on stage, and still have a successful night because, in essence, Art from the back of the band was the actual generator. He got everybody going. That groove, that shuffle that he played, which was notorious,
right?
Made you dance. I mean, you could not, play a bad note. You wanted to just sing through your instrument. What you couldn't do vocally. I mean, you listen to some of the things that they did, and the band was just dancing all the time and levitating, and when he was my real sponsor, the person that I looked to, he made you feel good. And when you looked at that little drum set that he had, that he would play on, you know, it was open up, and it was all about this is it right here,
Yeah.
you know, right here. Doom
And
shabak, doom
when you look
shabak.
at Art Blakey play, there's a joy on his face.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The
Yes,
smile.
I know.
It's almost as good as Dom's smile. Almost as good as Dom's smile.
Yes, yes, yes.
But like
I
you
mean,
watch Art Blakey playing Moanin', and he's just
oh
digging
yeah.
into that like medium
Wait until
shuffle.
you hear when you see Dom playing. Well, you've seen it, but Dom playing on Cuba on the Horizon, and his head's down, and he's hitting that floor tom. That's where you want to be.
Oh yeah.
That's where you want to be. You know, that's my Art Blakey. That and Dom Famularo, they come together right there. Dom's looking down, Art's looking forward.
That's right.
Bang, boom,
I
bang.
wish I had half the snare drum roll that Art had. My gosh, when he would take the
Oh,
sound and build the excitement from this roar of that snare drum.
roaring, man, roaring. You know, and then the dynamics of the band. I mean, they play with dynamics, and it's so important that not many bands do that enough.
Right.
You know, and I just thought, man, it would be amazing. I mean, that's another thing that I've learned to gain from him, and to want to try and do more and more and more, because it's not, the word dynamics can be so many different things. The dynamic of everything, the dynamic of the whole, the functioning of the organization. What are the dynamics there? But loud and soft is one dynamic. When
right.
Where you place it, the intensity is another dynamic.
Yeah.
How the band plays, how the group presents itself as a unit. These things you learn with time. You cannot be taught that, unfortunately, in any institution. You have to go through the yin and yang of life to understand just what that really means. And that was a big plus about having to play some very long nights in a half note, or the 5-spot, or the blue note, where you had 4 or 5 shows a night until you got to Sunday, and then you had a matinee on Sunday plus 4 or 5 shows that night.
Yeah.
And you started to, what can we do differently? And how much do we have to play? Because again, you got horn players up front. They don't have iron for lips, so they can't play 4 or 5 shows and play solos all night. That's trained. That's maybe Sonny Rollins, but after a while, there's not a whole lot of other people that could do that.
Yeah.
So then came the dynamics and how the band functioned as a unit, and that's where the Messengers came in. Whoa,
Yeah,
man.
But this is also what Billy does so well. Several different things. First of all, like Art Blakey, where he brought great musicians together who went on to have great careers. That's what Billy has done. He's always brought musicians together that have gone on to have their own great careers.
Right.
Sure.
Which is
Miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
I was blessed. I mean, to be able to be around, rubbing elbows, and in fact, working with some of those individuals, like Horace and Silver. I mean, our intensity level wasn't always just volume and speed.
Oh, yeah.
It was also in the ballads. How do you play intensely on a very soft ballad? Come see. And then you experience that, you understand. It's an emotion. And these things you have to learn to translate and incorporate into your performance. The only way that can happen is when you gain the respect of the audience, even in their silence. When they, I mean, everybody got you. You got through after you play what you played. And if it's the right time and the right frequencies, the right rhythm, whatever it is, it's going to just catch everybody and they go a collective sigh.
Yeah.
And that's when Billy grabs that audience in the palm of his hand musically, which is so powerful. And much like Art Blakey, who had a young Ralph Peterson Jr. rest in soul, that kind of formulated out of the Art Blakey world. You've got Dennis Chambers now coming out of Cobham's world, taking that to a whole other different level here. So it's pretty interesting to see the carrying on of this legacy. It's beautiful.
It's wonderful to see all of that's happening. And it's very important. I can't overemphasize. Everybody can write. Anybody can write. If you want to, it's there. You don't have to, but it is a tool, and it's a wonderful thing to hear, to play the music of my colleagues who happen to play the drums
Yeah.
like me. So it's like, it's just about what you hear. So it took a minute. Okay. But I highly recommend that anybody can do what I do. It's a parallel language, and it's the most universal of all languages in the world, music.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
that's really humble when Billy says anybody can do what I do. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, but
But it's true.
he's talking about, if he's talking about just the concept of writing,
Yeah.
something that I really agree with is that, you know, this goes back to what I said before, the Philly Joe quote, is that a lot of people will start and then get afraid because it's not where they think it should be at that moment, and then step back and they won't do it anymore, instead of persevering and pushing through and going like, all right, maybe that song wasn't so great, but I'm going to build on that and keep
I'll give
at
you
it. It's
something.
keeping at it, man.
I give you something. In 1981, I wrote a tune called "A Day's Grace." It was recorded by Barry Finnerty, Don Grolnick, and Tim Landers and myself on tour.
Rest in
A
peace, Don
live
Grolnick.
album. Okay, we played that tune. It was okay, and what happened was, it was the head, the bridge, and then there was solos. And I said to myself, there's got to be more. It's just that I don't know what else to do with it right now. So on Palindrome, I think, which is now in this millennium, is the next time I started playing that tune, and that's the next time I recorded that piece. So it took me over 30 years to get this done, to get it to a point where now it's a big orchestral piece that I've done, called "A Day's Grace." That is exactly based on those themes.
Wow.
It just comes when you have the knowledge,
Right.
and you have to. The only way you can gain the knowledge is by the experience. That's all.
But it's so amazing because as we had just recently released the Drum Together video, which was the tune Company,
Yeah.
that has gone out now around the world. It's got over almost 1 million views. We've raised almost $500,000 so far.
Oh, great.
Amazing to see what's happening. But when Billy played his part on it, he listened to this arrangement and came up with just kind of laying down some snare drum and some backbeat grooves that literally held the whole thing together. It just was the clarity of where the groove was, that over 100 drummers and a big band section and 20 violinists and
Yeah. Good
Bible
Lord.
chorus that was on there. This whole thing was on there.
It was a cattle call.
It really was. It came down to Billy laying down this groove that just held it all together. So it was just so powerful to witness.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, that's all I heard. I said, God, there's Gad, there's Weckl, there's Dom. What am I doing here? I just have this one thing. So I took the old Sonor that Horace Link gave me, and from there, and this mesquite that Garcia had made out of Sierra, and I thought, oh, it's a 5.5 and a 15 by 14. Let me see. That's about it. I mean, nothing else to say.
And I feel bad for Russ Miller, who had to put all the audio together.
He did. He did. Russ did?
He put the audio together. I mean, that's a big
My
task.
God.
100 drummers.
Oh,
And again, 158 musicians totally.
Right.
Chorus and the singers and the violins and again there were 5 trumpets, 4 trombones, and 5 saxes. So pretty amazing to see the wealth of it all. But Russ mixed it all together, and of course,
that's beautiful, man.
Billy was able to hold it together with his groove. So it was a pretty exciting project.
Yeah, try syncing up the 158 tracks. By the way, Larry Rizzo's in the house, and he said, sorry if this was asked before. I got here a little late. I was teaching. Billy, where was the most, and this is on my list of speed round questions, where was the most interesting venue that you've ever played? So something that really stands out in your mind as a special venue.
Minneapolis, the Tyrone Guthrie Theater, 1972, 73, somewhere in there. The reason why it comes out is because there used to be an airline, I don't know if it's still there, called Ozark Airlines. And we were Mahavishnu Orchestra. The MO was flying from, I don't know, maybe Chicago. We played the auditorium, and then somehow struggled to get to the airport, to get to Minneapolis on this short little hop. And in the process, it started snowing. But in the snow, Rick was sitting next to me, and we were just talking. All of a sudden, we heard "Bah!" and we had been hit by lightning up there in the plane. Right?
Whoa.
Okay, we're late. We come down because they couldn't figure out how to land. It was just, I mean, it was snowing, and it was the winter in Minneapolis. And I mean, I highly don't recommend going to Minneapolis in the winter. I mean, maybe now you might get away with it because of the climate thing, but it was back then. It was cold and really, really snowing heavy. So we had to wait at the airport until they cleared the streets from the airport so we could get into town. And by that time, we blew sound check, no chance.
Right.
So the big deal was the promoter said, if you're not here on time, you don't get paid, at least to the manager. So we had to go. I had on snow trekking boots. Only thing missing from my legs was snow shoes. Those were as big as those boots were. And I was so cold, man. I had a Norwegian sweater, all of that. We get there, the place is completely sold out in the snow, okay? And it was one of the most amazing rooms to perform in, for me, acoustically, that I'd ever performed in my life. I heard every note everybody played at the minimal amount of volume that I needed on the bandstand, which was very, very rare for me to say about the MO. And also in the audience, the people who waited for us to come, because we ended up being late, we didn't get a chance to change.
Wow.
We walked on the bandstand. I walked on the bandstand in a Norwegian sweater, which, trust me, it's like an Irish knitted sweater for fishing. It was stupid, and I had on an Eskimo jacket and all of that. And they're sitting in the very front row. It's all of the Santana band, Dougie Rouse, Carlos, everybody. It was like, it made us want to play, and we had a ball. The next thing you know, it was over.
Oh my God!
And the next thing you know, when you looked at what time it was when it was over, we'd already played over 3.5 hours, and we didn't even take a break.
Wow.
We just kept the solos just kept going on. I may have stopped for Lotus and an Irish Stream, and that was just somewhere in the middle. The rest of the time, I was playing.
Wow!
All
oh my
the time.
God!
Boy, Jim, you can see with all these different stories that Billy has, this is going to have to be a part 2.
Oh my God! Absolutely.
I think a part 2 will happen, and we can get into even more of the stuff because it's really amazing just how the wealth.
Hey, Dom, you got to teach.
Yeah, Dom, you got a student.
But we'll have to be sure and continue on. But it really needs to have a part 2. I think, Jim.
I believe so.
Scheduled again, and maybe just after our next master class or before, we'll put it together and map out a plan for this to happen.
Yeah, we should. There's a lot of interesting things that I've come across that I think it pushes to us. Me, I'd love to share with you guys about the drumstick, about the holding the stick and where the hold and the different types of woods and that are available, not to play the drum, use it as a drumstick. Not to mention the old what's his name now, the aluminum sticks that used to be made and how all of that happened. But at another time.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
Well, I have my speed round questions that we didn't get to, so we should definitely do that part 2. I call it 20 questions for drummers.
Mm-hmm.
And a list of people that have inspired all of us, including yourself. But I want to know about who's inspiring you these days. So we'll do that on let's say part 2. Sound good, gentlemen?
Fantastic.
All right, awesome. Well, this was super fun. Thanks for everybody that came into the chat. Look for part 2 at some point. We're gonna do it, and and we'll let Dom go teach. We'll let Billy go write some music, perhaps, or have some coffee, or both.
Well,
And
probably that and an ice cream cone.
nice. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much. We'll see everybody real
Okay.
soon. See you on the next one.
Okay, take care. All the best.